Okay.
Thank you, Morgan. So, welcome to the Ventnor Town Council meeting of the 17th of May. The first item on the agenda, as always, is a public forum for up to 30 minutes. We do have a member of the public. Hello, Jason.
Thank you. I'm purely here to see that this is still carrying on as we would expect it to happen, and therefore I have nothing to say.
Good. Well, I very much hope it does carry on as you expect for at least the next 12 months. Thank you very much, Jason. So item number 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. Clark, we have...
As before,
yes.
Chair.
And the second item is declarations of interest. Does anybody have any interest in the items below? I would imagine not, given the agenda as it is this evening. Item number 3 is the minutes of the previous meeting, for which we have minutes of the planning committee and also the minutes of the meeting from the 12th of April, for which I will need a proposer, please.
Yes, I propose the acceptance of the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Brian. I also need a second.
Well, actually, Chair, according to standard orders, they've been circulated, and unless there's any question,
then they are taken.
Accuracy, they're taken the vote. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian, nonetheless. Item number 4, as always, is the finance report. Clark, if you could run us through, please.
Thank you, Chair, and for benefit of new members, this is a standard report which has the same format for now as in previous times. It includes, as you will see, and I tend to read these figures out to the benefit of the recording and live streaming. 30th of April, which is my recording date for this meeting, the balance of the Town Council's funds stood at £490,379. I have to report to you that the reconciliation of the Town Council's 2 bank accounts at that date has been completed. The payments made during April came to a total of £43,140, with £3,099 coming from the Thorpe Gardens account. The full list of payments in the month is attached as it will be each month for member information. Receipts during April total £369,901. With 4,269 coming from Thorpe Gardens rents. And as you all know, the receipts include the 2021-22 precept from the ROI Council in a total of £355,889. Also attached to this report each month is a list of payments and receipts against the precept budget lines for the financial year to date. That shows at present that payments in the period were £3,498 under budget and receipts were £17 more than budgeted for. I usually say at this time of year that the variances are usually unreliable at this time of year because there's only 1 month figures and there are some obviously variations will occur further down the track. That's the finance report for this meeting, Chair.
Thank you very much, Clark. Thank you as always for preparing the finance report. Does anybody have any questions about the report this month? If not, then I'll seek a proposer and a seconder, please. Okay, proposer by Martin, please.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you.
I'll second. And seconded by Cliff. Okay, so it's going to be quite a busy evening for the clerk, I'm afraid, because as you can see, the next 4 items are related to the financial operations and the reporting and the auditing of the council. So rather than have me butcher the explanations of these, I will mostly hand it over to the clerk, who obviously is very competent in these matters. So the first item is the income and expenditure accounts, which does seem to come around very quickly. It is a very useful overview of the functions of the council, and it's a paper which is worth saving. It's good to refer to. So, Clark, would you like to give an introduction to that, please?
Sorry to disappoint you, Chair. I don't have anything to add to the report because the accounts have been prepared by a qualified accountant from our cash book records, and they are before you. Perhaps worth noting, it's the first time that I've been aware that the town council's income has actually exceeded the £500,000 mark. With expenditure reduced, partly due to COVID, of course. So the year shows a surplus of income over expenditure of £43,394. Happy to answer questions, but I have no more information to add.
Yes, I did notice myself that we crossed over the £500,000 mark, which was a little bit easier to remember than 460 something, isn't it? When trying to get an idea of the scale of the operation of the town council. So does anybody have any questions about the annual accounts?
Well, I was a little concerned about the imbalance between expenditure and income on our 4 car parks. And I've just recently heard from the clerk that something has happened which is correcting that balance somewhat.
Yes, indeed, it's worth passing that on. Thank you, Councillor Lucas. The variation that's occurred since the accounts were done, each year we settle with the Isle of Wight Council for the rent of the 4 car parks, and this year we received a bill from them of 19,000-ish, and I queried that because the Isle of Wight Council had declared car parking free in April and May last year when COVID first arrived, as you may recall. We agreed to make our car parks match that, subject to them altering the rent accordingly. They had forgotten to do that, but fortunately the correspondence from me still existed, and they agreed to adjust it. It took until last week for that to be agreed, and we now have a 17% reduction based on previous calculations of the extent of income for those 2 months, which reduces the cost of the town council by £7,000. Councillor Lucas, that's roughly what I told you, I think.
Yes, I'm happy now.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for correcting their forgetfulness, you could say. Okay, thank you. Is there any further questions about the annual accounts? Then I look for a proposer and a seconder, please. I'll propose. Thank you. And seconder? And Councillor Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is internal audit, which is another item that I won't try and butcher by explaining poorly. But once again, for this function, an outside expert is employed, Mr. Gareth Hughes, and as a chartered public finance accountant, we can assume that he's doing a very good job. Question from my side, Clark, is were there any findings, any extraordinary findings?
Well, you have his report, Chair,
And that's it. So everything in the positive.
but the new members, Chair, if I may just say a bit, that the town council, like all parish councils, has two auditors, one called internal and the other, not surprisingly, called external. The external one is the one you're about to deal with, I hope, in the next two items. They don't actually see any documents at all. So it's always seemed to me that it's the internal auditor that does the work, because he checks bank statements, invoices, cash book, and all of that before writing his report. We pay him £350 for that. The external auditor doesn't do anything except check the two forms you're about to agree, I hope, and we pay them £950, no, £1,250 this year. It just seems to be a strange juxtaposition that we're not in control of that. You have the internal auditor's report and the recommendation to appoint Gareth, which he's willing to accept for this year as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure he's willing to accept. So he checks over the governance and the accounting statements.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm doing to accept the recommendation.
Of course. So the recommendation, members are recommended to agree that the internal auditor's report be accepted and Gareth Hughes be thanked for his thorough preparation of it, and that Gareth Hughes is appointed as the Town Council's internal auditor for 2021-2022. Do I have a proposer, please?
Thank you, Phil.
Mark, Mr. Councillor Jeffries. And seconder?
Well, I'll second it. So, just shuffle down the line on that one.
Thank you.
So item number 7 on the agenda is the governance statement, as previously discussed by the clerk. As you can see on the document itself, it really is a check of governance to make sure that the correct procedures are in place. And to be absolutely clear, this is filled in by yourself, is it, David?
Yes, yeah.
It is filled in by yourself and then just cross-checked by them.
By the internal auditor, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about the governance statement? As you can see, all the ticks are in the correct place. So if nobody has any questions about it, I'll move to the recommendation, after which I have to sign this document, which I will do without delay. So the recommendation, the Town Council is recommended to resolve that the Town Council approves Section 1 of the Annual Governance Statement as attached to the report 4121, included in the papers for this meeting, and authorises the Mayor to sign Section 1 accordingly. So can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Proposed by Councillor Bond and seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. I'll sign immediately and pass it over to you.
You sign this one.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Sorry, that's the second chair.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to.
It's because they won't allow, they have to have wet signatures, as they call it, so That's the one that Gareth has completed. Would you mind signing that?
Certainly.
I'm happy for you to destroy the other one if you want.
Never to be seen again. Okay. Okay, so moving on to item number 8, we have the second part of the annual governance and accountability return, which is the numbers, which I invite you all to take a look at. It's it's quite an insight into the financial condition of the council. Again, well worth remembering some of those numbers. It gives you a good idea of where the council is and how large an operation it is. Does anybody have any questions about this document?
Yeah, just curious, looking at balances carried forward, item 7, considerably more this year compared to last. Wondering why there's such a difference.
I've not heard that clearly.
The difference in the balance being carried forward. It's mostly, I mean, David can elaborate more than me, but it's because of the coronavirus. A lot of operations didn't take place last year.
Well, as you can see, the item 7 is a sum. It's a combination of those figures above, so I can't help you with that, except that it's been done by Gareth Hughes, not by me, and he's not made a mistake in 10 years of doing this. It will all be different from our annual accounts.
But yeah.
Well, you started to elaborate there.
In a nutshell, the council underspent last year because of coronavirus and operations and staff that were not employed and operations that didn't take place.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good position to be in.
But we talk about silver linings, so there's a very, very tiny one, you could say. Are there any further questions about the accounting statements? Okay, in which case I look for a proposed. Well, I'll move to the recommendation. The Town Council is recommended to resolve the Town Council approves the accounting statements 2021 in section 2 of the annual governance and accountability return, authorises the Mayor to sign section 2 and asks the Clerk to submit the completed return together with the required additional papers identified in section 4 of this report in advance of the 30th of June 2021 deadline. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Lucas.
Yeah.
And further on, would you like to say?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much for your forbearance through those items. I feel like my feet are on slightly firmer ground now with the co-option process. So once again, congratulations to all the new members who are here today. Only Steph isn't joining us. But as you're all very well aware, there are still 2 vacancies on the Town Council. So we shall be enacting the co-option policy, which, to summarise from section 2A, is to advertise the vacancies, for the Clerk to collect any expressions of interest, and then for there to be a special meeting of the Town Council to take a look into the co-option and to approve or otherwise people who put themselves forward for it. Does anybody have any questions, statements for this? Please, Councillor Lucas.
Well, because there are two other people who got over 100 votes when they put themselves forward to the general public, it would seem very strange not to consider these people rather than advertising afresh for people who have not got any sanctioning from the local population. So I'm curious as to how we will be fair to those two people who got over 100 votes each if we're advertising afresh at all.
Yes, I don't disagree with the thrust of the argument. The point is, can we deviate from the policy that we have?
Well, the policy is set down, but in the interests of the recent election, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense because it's to go out asking for fresh suggestions when two people who put themselves forward did get a fair bit of support.
The amount of support those two people got from residents of Ventnor West doesn't really correlate with what the people in my constituency might think. So the fact that the Ventnor West voters turned out in great numbers, fantastic, but they didn't have names in front of them for
Chair, my view is the policy is the policy, enact the policy. If those who attracted 100 votes want to put their name forward, then they will be considered with the other people who put their names forward. I think that would appear straightforward to me. Just enact the policy and perhaps they'll put their names forward.
Chair, I mean, it's worth noting that this wasn't what we did last time. It's maybe where Brian's coming from, because last time we did I wasn't here at the time. After the 2017 election, the two properties were people who stood. But I think the point that Colm makes is worth bearing in mind as well, because last time it was Ventnor East and Ventnor West, whereas now we are talking about two different parts of town. I think the other issue we have, of course, is we don't know whether those individuals are willing to stand up right now. So if we decide this is different, we're in difficulty. I think, given where we are, I think the sensible thing to do is to go ahead as proposed and invite any of the make a gauge any of the other candidates if they want to apply. They can do, and there were 6 people who weren't elected, and they all got over 100. I wasn't quite sure what you meant by 100 votes, but all 6 of the other candidates got over 100. If any of them want to apply, they're welcome. I think that would be the best way forward. Otherwise, if we decide to ask them and they say no, we've then got to come back at the next week and come and go back to square one, haven't we?
So, anybody have anything further to say on the matter? We move to the recommendation, which would the recommendation would be to continue with the policy as is.
Well, I recommend we don't, on this occasion, we don't follow the policy, bearing in mind the circumstances of the recent election. And I don't know whether we're allowed to do that, are we, Mr. Clark?
Are we allowed to? Would Brian be able to propose an amendment whereas we don't follow this policy?
Well, the policy is as it is, and I'm also conscious of one or two comments have been that those votes that you're considering taking into account were for Ventnor West, whereas the vacancies are to other areas. From my perspective, it would be a shame if people in, for example, Melville didn't have a chance to reconsider the election. But I'm rather concerned. I think councillors can decide to override standing orders. That Ian Bond will be able to advise on that.
Yes, of course, we could move to suspend the standing orders if we wanted to. I mean, would you like to move that?
I'd like to move on this one occasion that we override standing orders and give those 2 people who came next in the order of voting the option of being co-opted onto this council.
Okay, you're proposing that?
I propose that.
Okay. Do we have anybody to second that proposal?
Well, I'm no thinker then, aren't I?
I had to find someone in Bolchurch, Brian, who's
In which case we move to the recommendation, which is to enact the co-option policy as read here. Okay? So the Town Council has recommended to us as clerks to implement a co-option policy in respect of the current vacancies in Bonchurch and Ventnor East and Loudville. Can I have a proposer for that, please? I'll propose that. Councillor Warren, seconder. Councillor Warren. So item number 10, borrowing approval. So as everybody is well aware, the Town Council is well progressed into a scheme to build a new public toilet in the central car park. This paper in front of us is not related to the scheme per se, but only for additional information that is required by the, I wish it was still called the DGLC, required by the MHCLG in relation to the Town Council borrowing a sum of £150,000. If we support this recommendation here, this does not mean that we will automatically receive this money. It is just to furnish them with additional information. And by no means does it mean that we are committing to spend this money either. There's still question marks over the public toilet, most notably related to the amount of rent that the Isle of Wight Council is proposing to charge for the spaces that the toilet would sit on. So, Clark, would you like to, considering that you've received this request, would you like to elaborate?
Nothing much to add, Chair. I think you summarised it very well. I mean, we've got caught between, because of the delay, when the submission was first entered, the resolution was adequate. They've changed their policy not because of us, but because of they panicked a bit about local authorities borrowing millions to buy blocks of flats in Manchester or wherever, so they've tightened up and they now have an interim stage. And as I put in the report, we didn't get this information from them until 22nd of April. And one of the changes is they want a specific recommendation. So I haven't constructed this recommendation. This is taken straight from their paperwork. And if they get this, they will then be happy to complete the assessment of the application for borrowing approval. As you say, and to confirm, that's not anything to do with the actual calling off of the loan, simply permission if we choose to proceed and when we do.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions on this matter? It's a fairly straightforward case of just supplying them with an extra bit of information. I hope you don't mind. I hope you've all read the recommendation, save me reading it out. It really is just a matter of passing on information. But we do need to make a decision to supply that to them. Can I have a proposer for this, please? Councillor Lucas, thank you very much. And a seconder? I'll second. Thank you very much, Councillor.
If it's any consolation, David, I've been married with MCLG now for 19 months. So they are not my favourite partner at the moment.
Well, we won't send you forward to discuss this then.
Not if it's the same people.
Okay, so item number 11 on the agenda is support for vulnerable residents. Excuse me. I don't really feel all that well qualified to speak on this matter, especially when we have Tony McCarthy in the room, both Tony McCarthy and Alison and Morgan, who between them have done an astonishing amount of work in the last year. For those that are not aware, the Town Council has provided help over 1,100 times now to people with regards to helping them with shopping and prescriptions and so on. It's really been like a really Herculean efforts, and it's been run by the staff team, principally by Tony, Morgan, and Alison. Can I bring Tony in? Yes. Would you care to say a word on it, or swap for?
Thank you very much, Darryl. I wasn't really prepared to say anything.
That's quite all right, but you speak so well. We have 3 new members here, and I think it'll be really.
I would say it has been a really great effort from the staff team to support those people over the last year, or just over a year now. We've also had around 61 people volunteering to help us, 40 people actually doing the work, and 21 people are still ringing people regularly to check up that they're okay. So it just shows the level of community spirit of Ventnor. It's really great that the town council has been so supportive of us doing this. We're one of the few town councils, in fact we're probably the only town council to do this kind of work on this scale on the Isle of Wight. So there are others who work in partnership with it, there are smaller parishes who do it, but we're the only town council that have done any work on this scale. So we should be very proud of ourselves as a town to have achieved this and to have supported so many vulnerable people in our community. So thanks very much, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you very much, and Alison as well. I know I've been directly involved with that. Part 3 on this paper, as you can see, is Connect with Communities, for which the Town Council received, if I'm not mistaken, £5,000, which has also been administered by yourself, Tony, I'm assuming, and that the funds have gone wholly to the food bank and the baby box?
Sorry, Chair. The food bank and baby box were unable to share details of their clients with us because of GDPR regulations. But Alison and myself came up with a scheme whereby they would nominate people, they would ring Alison, and then we would give them co-op vouchers, and that's been very, very successful. And again, it's been down to the hard work of Alison for administering the scheme, and the co-op locally for being so supportive, and also the good relationship that built up both with Ventnor Community Food Bank and with Baby Box over recent years. So they trust us to deliver for the people they're working with. So again, it's been pretty successful.
Okay, super. Thank you very much, Tony. I'm really glad you found a way to work around, in the most positive way, to work around the GDPR, which I know can be very constricting.
If I may just add briefly to that, I just wonder how members feel about the fact that there are 60 people in the town who need food vouchers, and I never thought a town council would reach the point where it was having to distribute food vouchers, requiring people to queue up in the co-op for pieces of paper instead of money. It's a symptom of the deprivation at the heart of the town, and something which I certainly hope and expect that the council will take very seriously in the course of its next 4-year term. These problems are real, they're more widespread than we have come across. We know we have more names from both Baby Box and the food bank of people who, for whatever reason, have not felt able to take up the offer. In total, they have identified nearly 100 names of people in need, and we've distributed to 60. Deprivations won't go away. In my experience in the past professional life is that when an area is on a declining deprivation, is on a deprivation spiral, it just gets worse. And for all the town council's efforts over the last 8 years of my time with it, it has actually got worse in the town. So it needs serious concentration and some effective action if the town council is to tackle this issue rather than let it continue to slide. It's a tough job because nobody's ever found a cure for deprivation cycles nationally. They also get worse. The town Ventnor is not by any means unique, but it's our problem now. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
See, I completely agree with everything the clerk has said there. But 2 points that I would say is I personally know people using the food bank because that's £40 or £50 extra they've got to spend on drugs every week. I personally know that's the case for a couple of uses of it. And secondly, if we as a council care about deprivation, and I certainly do, then what we spend the taxpayers' money on is really, really important, because we should be spending it on exactly those issues. Not on different projects, not on big shiny projects, but things that actually help the people that are in this desperate state. 100% agree on that. So what we spend our money on, hundreds of thousands of pounds, £500,000 a year, perhaps we should ask ourselves that question. Does that expenditure on that project now help deprivation in Ventnor? Or is it just a big shiny thing that we know?
Thank you, Colin. I think it's very important as we go forward, not just for the next year, but the next 4 years. Hopefully the next year will set the scene for what happens in the 3 years after that. And in a discussion I had recently with Tony, and he hit the nail right on the head really, the town council may be very tempted to look at bricks and mortar projects because they're tangible, we see them, they're easy for us to get excited about. But actually this topic that we've discussed here, it really has to be really at least on a par with any big shiny bricks and mortar projects that we consider for the coming period. They're not so easy to see, but it's there, as very well expressed by David. Does anybody have any further comments on this paper? Sport for vulnerable residents? Okay. Then we go on to the town clerk's report, please.
Yes, this is another standing item, Chair, of the benefit of new members. It doesn't require any decision, it's just for bits of information that otherwise might not come your way. We will be opening the public hall this week, which is good news for everybody. Wants to use it, and there's a lot of demand for that. Item 2, we're in the process of recruiting the 2 part-time sessional youth worker posts that we've had for many years, but they became vacant and it didn't make any sense to fill them during COVID because of the restriction on activities for young people. But we're now ready to go with that. And similarly with the Anxiety Cafe, which started during the last year and has been operated by a member of staff on a 6-hour contract. And she's now got a full-time job, so we are recruiting to fill that post. Office staffing, having reached stage 3 of the roadmap, we've adopted a different approach to staffing the office. As you see here, it will now be staffed routinely from the usual office hours, but only with 1 member of staff present, up until the 21st of June, when the roadmap runs out allegedly, and we'll review arrangements following that date. The rest of the staff team, normally based at the office, will continue working from home because we're very good at that, very well established practices, and so we should continue on that basis. Dudley Road car park, members may notice that Charlie Roads has already moved in at Dudley Road, taking over a chunk of the car park, and for a longer period as they did last time, and running up until sometime in September. And as you can see, we've made arrangements for residential parking permits to be valid in Market Street as well for the duration of that restriction. Ventnor Day 2021, Tony is making excellent progress, well supported by others in the planning for that, and it should be an amazing event. I heard from Tony today that there are 65 stalls already booked. Amazing. And So, pretty good news. Annual town meeting is next Monday at 6 o'clock, and that will be virtual, because of limitations on numbers here, and so that's going ahead. In fact, a number of local organisations have already taken up the offer to provide summaries of their working plans, and members need to know that this is not a town council meeting, but the town council has the responsibility to organise one each year, apart from last year when we were excused. And finally, just the recent dates of the working groups. Thank you, Chair, done.
Thank you very much. Yes, the 65 stalls certainly jumped out at me as well. That's quite the uptick, isn't it? So it'll be a superb day. Just for clarification, please, the next Assets and Services Working Group, I believe, is on the 25th.
It's changed now.
It has changed, yeah.
I've changed the before, sorry, Chair.
Yeah, that's quite all right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that just leaves me to thank you all very much once again for coming along this evening.